How did I vacate my second job, Panther Woods, the first time? Well, let me go back to what I think happened. It's a news team come to me and John's office. They said they wanted to do a news interview on how great the place looked because it's one of the nicest places on the Treasure Coast. And John said, well, is that what y'all need to know? Y'all need to talk to that guy there. And John pointed at me. And they said, we don't know. The bosses told us to talk to the superintendent. And he said, but y'all want to know why the place looked like it looked? That man there do that. I ain't got nothing to do with how that place looked. Say that my assistant, and he handle everything 100%. All I do is collect a check. So the man said, we got to call the owner then, because the owner paying for it, right? He called the owner, right there in the office in front of all us, the new team, me and John. And the owner say, we don't want no black man to be the face of our company. It would deter people from buying property. Say, we trying to sell real estate. And they see that black guy up front, ain't nobody gonna want to buy no property him. Either John do it or just call it off. And the guy said, but what about the money? He said, I guess y'all just have to keep the money. Y'all there, right? It ain't y'all fault if the interview don't happen, right? So I just know John was going to do the interview. And John told Kurt Fungal, I'm not doing no interview, but my assistant is the reason the place looked like it looked. And I was shocked. But I knew at that moment, I said, man, John finna get fired, man. He talking to Hankin, Mr. Hankin. The Hankin family over to Copenhagen chewing tobacco. They powerful. And I'm like, oh my God, John. Man, John don't too much like owners and general managers, you know, because the general manager before that, John hired his son. I think his name was Dale Camp. John fired the man's son the first day he come to work, man. The general manager, who over all managers. And I thought John was going to get fired then, but messing with the Hankin group, I know John was going to get fired, bro. Right? So, a couple of weeks later, maybe a month, John was fired. Now, with superintendents, when we get fired, we under the Golf Course Superintendent Association. We just can't leave the job. We got to stay there till they find a replacement. That's part of our bylaws, you know. And so John went on, but anyway, the company interviewed me for the job. And I had a remarkable offer from Club Med. You know, when my daddy brought them out there to play golf for a couple of weeks before this interview, and I just thought, well, why not see what the Hankin groups got to offer me? You know, and I was kind of conscientious. You know, because remember, they didn't want me to do the interview because of my skin color. And I didn't look at that as being racist because they treated me good. I look at that as business because whether we like it or not, it's still like that today. You get what I'm saying? So I still respected the Hankin group because, hey, the people treated me great. So we having an interview, right? Everything going nice. They say, oh, you the best. You've been running the place for 3 years. John was never here. John was this and John was that. And we know the success behind the place is because of you. Because you here every day, 7 days a week. John never here. He just want to party. And we know you running the place. And we would like you to take over. And I say, yeah, that sound all good. We talking good. They say, he put Mr. Hankin on the phone, and Mr. Hankin talked to him a little bit, and hey, man, this is great. And he said, we'll also give you a lifetime supply of Copenhagen. Because we know you dip Copenhagen. And I say, well, I read them to be able to buy my own Copenhagen. Y'all talk everything good, but I ain't heard nothing about no money yet. So the guy called Mr. Hankins again. He said, Mr. Hankins, Mr. Stubb want to know about the pay, right? Then Mr. Hankins talked to the general manager. It was like a cowboy atmosphere, but not no American cowboys. They were like Australian cowboys or something, wherever they from. But they seemed nice people. They didn't seem racist or nothing, and he went to talking to me about the pay. He said, Mr. Hankins said, you got to prove yourself, son. We want to start you with somewhere in the 30s. I ain't going to say what it was, but it was in the 30s. And I say, sir, we dealing with a delicate situation. We growing winter grass all year round in South Florida. At any time, the superintendent can lose his job. It's a high-risk job. You're going to lose the grass in an hour if it's not being monitored correctly. Somebody got to be here sun up to sundown, 7 days a week, even on holidays. That's a lot of stress, sir. It's just 3 courses in South Florida to do that. And that Banyu and the reserve. And we heard the reserve finna switch over to summer grass because it's just too much trouble to keep the grass up. And he say, we know what y'all do is hard, what you and John do, and we take that in consideration. But son, you just got to prove yourself. I say, sir, you know what? Y'all just told me I'm one of the best y'all ever seen in the game. Y'all just told me that I've been running the job for 3 years. Y'all just told me that I'm a prodigy. And y'all sure 100% I can handle the situation. But John was making 127. Free room and board. Free travel, vehicles, gas, meals. He lived right here on the job in the condo. I graduated with a 2.8, which was higher than John's grade point average. Why is John making 127? And y'all want to start me in the 30s? They say, well, this and that, and John did this and John did that. I say, y'all keep saying John did this and John did that. I say, what I seen John do is remarkable. He one of the greatest superintendents I had the privilege to work with. I say, if that man can run this place and be away 75% of the time, I say, that's a gift he got from God. I said, the way I look at it, John can run 1,000 golf courses and don't be there. That's how good John is. That's his gift. So whether John here or not don't mean nothing to me, sir. Because when he got me here, he trained me. He teach me about management. So when I do good, John doing good. He the boss. I say, but if you're gonna start me in the 30, I suggest y'all find somebody else for the job, because a man on 9 holes in Florida make 45 to 50,000. 9 holes. I say this 18-hole championship, the largest golf course on the Treasure Coast. Our greens make 6 of the other people green, 3 to 6. Our tees is the largest tee area on the Treasure Coast. We got miles and miles of fairways in rough. But the winter grass thing, we should make triple what anybody else to make. We should make triple than what the average superintendent make. And y'all want to make me the lowest paid on the Treasure Coast, keeping winter grass all year round, which is a miracle within itself. It's a miracle against nature. So I got another job offer, sir, and he said, who with? I said, no, you ain't got to worry about all that, but I got another job offer, and I think I'd take that job offer. You know, when I left there, I went back to the office. John was there waiting, and John was happy. He said, you made me look that much better to the golfing community. Thanks for sticking up with me, partner. And I said, no, thank you, Mr. Perham. You one of the best in the game, sir. We shook hands. And I never saw John again. Next thing I know, somebody else took over the job. They lost all the greens in 2 weeks. They tried to aerify bent grass, I heard, in the summer. And they redid the greens, grow them back in, and the guy tried to aerify again and kill all the greens again. And that when I heard they switched back to summer grasses. Because you got to know what you're doing when you're dealing with this type of grass. You can't aerify that grass. If you aerify that grass, it got to be like 20 sun degrees. That's the only time Mama aerify is in the 20s, or if it's in the maybe the maximum of 40. Anything over 40 degrees, I'm not aerifying that grass, and I'm not pulling plugs. I'm gonna do open tines. The open tine won't pull no plug. It'll just open up the ground, like, you know, to let the pressure release. But anyway, that's how I left Monte Carlo the first time. And it's the only time I had choices working on golf course. That's why I'm always remember. I had a choice to stay there and a choice to go on another job. And I also had a choice with CCA. But John tore it up, the contract. He said, well, you don't want to go with them. And I wanted to go with them. And I'll tell you about that later. Thank you, and God bless.